Introduction. The Internal Audit Services shall conduct an evaluation and appraisal of the LGU's internal control system to check its standing if it's well crafted and implemented accordingly. The planning and process are composed of 3 steps. Strategic and annual planning. Audit process includes compliance audit, management audit, and operations audit. And lastly, performance monitoring evaluation. We will discuss first the strategic and annual planning. You can see here the extensive internal audit process from strategic and annual planning, which includes baseline assessment of internal control system, control significance and materiality, control risk, and internal audit risk, which will be the basis for the strategic planning and annual planning. Once there is an approved strategic plan and annual plan, then the audit process starts, and the execution of the strategic plan by conducting compliance, management, and operations audit. The process starts with audit planning, audit execution, audit reporting, and audit follow-up. Lastly is the performance monitoring evaluation. This is the last process of the internal audit process, wherein the internal audit services makes an assessment and evaluation of the performance within the whole year. So this is the baseline assessment of the internal control systems diagram. There are components of internal control system, control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information, and communication. They shall go through review and assessment of operating system, key processes, and support system, key processes. So if those controls are in compliance with yes, then it shall go through flowchart, narrative, notes, and walkthrough. If not, then it will be included in the control gaps, deficiencies, and breakdowns. And then, if those control gaps, deficiencies, and breakdowns, it would go directly to interim report. Then, if they pass in the flowcharting, narrative, notes, and walkthrough, then they will proceed to test of controls. If passed, then we'll go proceed to check with control universe, such as the adding with the review of the oversight and international development bodies like Commission on Audit, DALG, and other non-government agencies and other stakeholders. If it didn't pass, then it will proceed to the control gaps, deficiencies, and breakdowns directly to the interim report. Then interim report to baseline assessment report. So the objectives of the baseline assessment of the internal control systems, or BAICs, is to get familiar with the LGU's operations. Second is to identify and document the 5 components of internal control system. As I said earlier, the control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. And then shall go to review of control processes and performance and operating support systems. Then gather sufficient information from stakeholders, constituents, and beneficiaries of potential audit areas to be included in the strategic plan, such as, but not limited to the following, like reliability, accuracy, and timeliness of financial reporting, compliance with rules and regulations of the procurement system, effectiveness of controls in the payroll system, adequacy of the recording and keeping of government physical assets under safe custody, and lastly is the evaluation of whether expected results were achieved and targets were attained. Control significance and control risk of key processes. Upon completion of the BAICs and reporting of the BAR, the IAS shall conduct an assessment of control significance and control risk of key processes. The assessment will result in operations and support systems key processes, in the safeguard of assets, check accuracy of reliability of accounting data, adherence to managerial policies, compliance with laws, policies and procedures, and ensure 4Es, effectiveness, efficiency, ethical, and economical of operations. The assessment shall go through risk management process. It shall go to risk identification, risk analysis, risk evaluation, and risk treatment. If the risk is high, it will be included in the assessment of internal audit risk But if the risk is low, then it will not be prioritized in the strategic and annual work plan. Assessment of internal audit risk. In line with the auditorial functions of the IAS, internal auditors shall conduct an assessment of their audit risks, not risk of management and delivery units or vis-a-vis their functional objectives. So this risk, the high risk in the assessment of control significance and control risk of key processes, will undergo in the risk management process again. Then if it will align with the functions of an internal audit services. So the process ensures that internal audit services has a low risk in those high risk auditable areas that will be included in the strategic plan and annual plan. All high risk in assessments will not be included in the prioritization of auditable areas. So, formulation of 3-year strategic plan. So, the strategic plan consists of 3-year direction of the IAS, considering the results of the BAICs of the organization, and the assessment of control and internal audit risk. The IAS prepares the proposed 3-year direction of the internal audit activities for approval of the local chief executive. The potential audit areas are prioritized based on the following. First is that those controls with the highest impact shall be covered in the first year. Then those controls with moderate impact shall be covered in the second year. And those controls with low impact shall be covered in the third year. The IAS shall propose to the LCE for the creation of technical working group. So this is our case in the whole government of Odiongan, which we created a technical working group, which is composed of technical personnel within the LGU from the higher education institution, DALG, representative from NGOs and POs, and other identified resource persons. So the IAS shall serve as a team leader and secretariat of the technical working group. So what are the components of strategic plan? So the strategic plan shall consist of the following components. First is the objectives. This section provides a statement of the broad objectives and directions of internal audit over a 3-year period, including the limitations. It focuses on both audit and management goals and is consistent with organization or sectoral policies and guidelines. Second is methodology. This section outlines the approach in developing the plan, consisting of the conduct of the BAICs, assessment of control, and internal audit risk, and consultation of the principal constituents or the public the organization serves and other key stakeholders. In the organizational strategic environment, this section identifies issues and trends relevant to the organization which may have an impact on the achievement of the organization's objectives. Then followed by risk and opportunities associated with the strategic plan. This section identifies the risk and opportunities, both internal and external, to the IAS, considering the conducted organizational strategic environment scanning. So the tool that can be used here is the SWOT analysis, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Then IAS strategies. So this section describes the 3-year strategy of the IAS to achieve the broad objectives described in item A, or the objectives of the strategic plan, considering the emerging trends in the sector. So we can build here a strategic map. And then work strategies and audit coverage. This section describes the major focus of the audit function and any audit related activity over a 3-year period, and any change that is required to ensure that the audit plan and other activities remain relevant to the strategic direction of the organization. In allocation of audit resources, this section details the relative allocation of financial and human resources among the audit support, and any audit-related activity over the life of the plan, including the previous year, for comparative purposes. Performance measures. This section lists the key performance indicators, or KPIs, that are used to measure the performance of the IAS and any change in the measure or targets over time. And lastly, the review of this strategic plan. This section describes the time frame and arrangement for the review and update of the plan. The plan covers a 3-year rolling period and needs to be reviewed iteratively. Formulation of the annual work plan. The annual work plan, or AWP, is prepared to assist the LGU in the implementation of key strategies and priorities identified in the strategic plan, or SP. The AWP contains the prioritized areas from the SP, which will be the focus on during a 1-year period. The type and approach of the audit, as well as the timelines of the same. The AWP shall include areas for management audit and operations audit. The AWP shall be subject to the review and approval of the LCE. The annual work plan shall consist audit area, audit type, audit description, area responsible, priority, expected duration, and expected start.